This is a hard question, okay? So I will just be upfront here. This might not be a high priority if you're struggling with time, but also if I saw this question on a test, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, this is not a case where I'm just like, duh, I need to do this, this, and this. Step 1, step 2, step 3. I don't know. But that doesn't bother me because I've got confidence that if I understand the basic idea that a question is testing, and I can kind of get step 1 going, I'm more likely to be able to stumble my way to step 2, step 3, step 5, and hopefully the answer. So I think that this comes with practice, but it is an important concept for the SAT is you will never, ever, ever be able to predict every single question you could see. There will always be ways that the SAT twists things up in a way that you wouldn't know what to do instantly. But that's okay, because we have a procedure for dealing with that. We get back to basics. What is the basic essence of this question? Well, they're talking about average, arithmetic mean. So, without really thinking too much, I know that the average is the sum of the numbers over the number of numbers. We used this for an earlier question in this section. Okay, well, why does that help? Well, it's a formula, and if I have things I can plug into that formula, then that's probably moving me in the right direction. So the first sentence or the second sentence, I should say, kind of tells us what we need. In the first 10 ratings the store received, the average was 75. So, again, I don't really know why I'm doing this other than I can do it, but I know, okay, if the average is 75 and the number of numbers, the number of ratings is 10, then I can find the sum of those ratings. Just multiply 75 times 10, and we get that the sum is 750. Cool. I don't know why that helps, but I did it anyway. And then I think, okay, maybe I can do some more stuff, and we'll learn more about the question. So let's keep reading. What is the least value the store can receive for the 11th rating and still be able to have an average of at least 85 for the first 20 ratings? Well, that question, or the end of the question, is kind of giving me similar information to the stuff in green, right? It's another set of numbers I can plug into my formula. There's more to it, but for now, keep it simple, right? So, okay, 85 is my average. The sum is unknown, and this is 20 ratings this time, so now I'm going to multiply by 20, so 85 times 20. So now the sum is 1,700. But sum now is kind of getting blended, right? They have the sum of 10 things, so let's call it sum 10. Ooh, it's an ugly 10. And sum 20, right? There's 10 numbers and then 20. So what can I do here? Well, I don't really know anything about the second half of this set. There's something about the 11th number, and the 1,700 includes the 750. So why don't I just get rid of it, right? So basically here, let me write it in blue to make it really clear. The sum of the 20 ratings is equal to the sum of the first 10 ratings plus the sum of the last 10 ratings. How can I write this? How about the sum, sum last? It's getting a little mathy with all these subscripts, but, I think it's pretty clear with the colors. So we know two of these things, right? This is similar to what we just did before. If we know two pieces of a formula, we can kind of figure it out. So, okay, the sum of the 20 is 1,700. We know the sum of those first 10 is 750. I don't know what any of those individual ratings is, but I don't care. That's not my task. My task is to focus on the 11th rating. So that's going to be in this other piece. So we do some subtraction. Minus 750, minus 750. And I could probably do this in my head, but why bother? 750 is 950. Okay. So let's use the orange. 950 is equal to the sum of the last 10 ratings. Oh, okay, we're getting warmer. Now is where things do require some critical thinking. Okay, but I think because I've done so much work already, I'm more likely to see this step. I've done all the kind of more robotic basic steps, and I just have one thing to focus on left. This is the sum of 10 ratings, and I want to know just one of them, the 11th. But I can't really know each and every one of these ratings because of the same reason I couldn't really know the first 10 ratings. Like, it's just in a big lump. That's all I get. I get the lump sum. But it's not just that they want the 11th rating. They want the least value of the 11th rating. And they did tell us in the first sentence that the ratings could be between 0 and 100. So one would think, well, can't the least value just be 0? Well, it's not that easy, unfortunately, because this is a hard question, and so there's going to be a little bit more to it. So this is where the critical thinking piece comes in. There are 10 ratings in this orange group. We want the 11th one to be as small as possible, okay? In order for this to be as low as possible, the way that averages work, we want the others to be as high as possible, okay? Right? Think about averages, right? If you are taking your average of your grades in school, if you have a really low grade, how do you deal with that? How do you cancel out that low grade? You want to get really, really high grades to balance it out, right? So the average is somewhere in the middle, but the individual numbers can be on two ends of a spectrum, right? So, something happens, you're sick, whatever, you forget to study, you have a really, really bad grade. You want to get the best grades possible on those other tests so that gets canceled out. What's the best grade possible in this system here? It's 100. So there are 10 numbers in this sum. We want to know the 11th. So let's call that x. We want the other 9 to be 100. So I'm doing multiplication here. I could just add up 100 plus 100 plus 100, etc. But I'm shortening because I'm running out of space. So if we have to deal with a really low grade, a really low rating, we want hundreds on every other rating to balance that out. And now we can solve for x. We can solve for the 11th rating. So we would say, okay, this is 900. So let's subtract that from both sides. So we get that 50 is the value of x, and that's the answer. This is very hard, very hard. Again, it's a good question to skip. You should know yourself. If you look at this and you are already kind of overwhelmed right from the start, that might be a good reason to skip it and do 36, 37, 38, so you can get those points and before you come back to this. But I do think that this is a great example of this get back to basic strategy and how it genuinely works, even for people like me who are actually pretty good at math, is I don't have a plan at the start of every question, and you have to be comfortable with that. You have to trust that the stuff that you can do is probably the stuff that you should do, and that you'll kind of work it out as you go through. Some questions, it'll be easier to do that than others, but the more you practice just trying step 1, getting step 1 on the page, the more likely you're going to figure out the weird thing you need to figure out and get to the end. But you can't figure out the weird thing if you haven't done all the work that comes before it. So this is really just about practicing your own confidence in yourself and trusting that you know enough math to get close. And that if you get close, you're smart enough to bring it home and get all the way. I believe in you, okay? So you got to believe in yourself too.